Hey, this is Alex from the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. To see more videos like this from the Good Old Boys, hit subscribe and support this independent podcast.
Jimmy Garoppolo coming in. He finished at QB 25 last year. He was 207 completions, 308 targets, 67.2% completion, 3,524 yards, 16 TDs, 4 interceptions, 23 rushes, 33 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Thoughts on Jimmy G?
Serviceable QB2 in a super flex league. He's not a top. I don't see him in the top 15, so he's not a guy that I'm targeting, in a redraft single quarterback necessarily. But he might be a nice piece if you wait on quarterback. And really wait. Jimmy G may not be the worst guy to pair up with like a Tua, who might have some injury concerns, right, with the headache or with the head, or even a Geno Smith, who, if you're afraid there might be some sort of recession, and then you can play matchups a little bit there. But by himself, he's not a guy that I'm actively going after without some assurances on either side.
He's not the first quarterback he's not your first choice quarterback in a single QB league, but he is a nice, somewhat reliable when he's playing piece to have on your roster. And that's honestly how I view him, even with his weapons of Devontae Adams, even with, a Josh Jacobs taking the load off and keeping defenses honest, I still, that's how I view a Jimmy Garoppolo, is that he's not a guy that I'm necessarily going out and being like, yeah, this is who I'm staking my fantasy football season on.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo is somewhere between QB 20 and 25 this year, right? Like that's where I see him kind of, when the season and the dust all settles, QB 20 to 25. Where I would like Jimmy G, as far as like a format and all of that goes, would be like a Scott Fishbowl type of format, where you're penalized for incomplete passes, you're penalized heavily for turnovers, sacks, those types of things. Jimmy G doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't throw a ton of, completes a bunch of passes out there and kind of dinks and dunks his way through that thing. So in that kind of format, I like him as my second, my second QB, my flex type of QB, but because he's not going to go out there and lose me a game like Kirk Cousins has notoriously done that in that format several times, where he puts up big negative points to it. Jimmy G is not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and put up a monster performance and win me a week in that one, but he's also not going to turn around and hose me and lose me the week in that kind of format either. So in that kind of format, I like him. I like him as a second QB. Outside of redraft, he's a guy that, as a third QB in a bye week flex type of thing, yeah, let's put him on there and let's go that route. And I'm down for that one.